You're good to go.
Okay, good morning. It's March 14th, 2022. This is the State and Local Government Committee. And we're going to first look at the budget, and then we have a public hearing coming up after that to consider a proposal from Washington County for Veterans Memorial Park. But first, let's introduce ourselves, starting with Representative Randall Greenwood.
Sure, thank you. Good morning. My name is Randall Greenwood. I represent House District number 82, which are the towns of Litchfield, Monmouth, and my hometown of Wales in both Kennebec and Androscoggin counties.
Representative Lynn Copeland.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Copeland, and I'm proud to represent the folks in House District 14, which is coastal and downtown Saco. Welcome.
Representative Kathy Downs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Kathy Downs. I represent District 130, which is Bucksport and Arlington. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. Senator Kimberly Rosen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Kimberly Rosen, Senate District 8. I have 16 towns between Castine through Brewer all the way up to Lincoln, and I live in Bucksport.
Great. Representative Walter Reisman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Walter Reisman. I live in the town of Harrison. I represent District 69, which is Bridgeton, Harrison, and Denmark, and encompasses two counties, Oxford and Cumberland.
Representative William Toole.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm Will Toole. I represent the Machias area plus Lubec and Eastport. And I am in the building for Cheryl's benefit.
Well, we're glad that you're there. Just stay safe, and we understand the State House is closed because of a water main break. So my name is Joe Baldacci. I represent Senate District 9, which is the city of Bangor and the town of Herman. And see, Lynn, if you want to get started regarding the budget, take us through those discussions. And we're ably assisted today by Lynn Caswell, our OPLA analyst, and Cheryl McGowan, our committee clerk. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are first on the agenda going to hear from the Department of Administrative and Financial Services, the Secretary of State, the State Treasurer's Office, and from the executive branch, the GOPIF office. And they're going to be here to provide a brief discussion about their portions of the budget, and then to answer any questions you may have on their portions, on their initiatives. And then the voting by this committee on the initiatives will occur on Wednesday. As I said when we first started, Secretary of State Bellows had a conflict with VLA, and perhaps she can go first so that she doesn't get so that she is able to present her budget to both committees.
Yes, so that sounds reasonable. So why don't we start with the Secretary of State?
Here she is.
She is. Good morning, Secretary Bellows. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Senator Baldacci, Representative Matlack, distinguished members of the State and Local Government Committee. And thank you for your discretion. The Bureau of Corporations, Elections, and Commissions, specifically elections, is unique in that both state and local government and Veterans and Legal Affairs looks at the same budget items.
I guess we can have a discussion about that later. But why don't you have the floor and tell us about your budget requests.
So we followed up. You received my testimony last week in the Appropriations and State and Local Government joint hearing. As you can see, it is fairly routine and fairly modest. There's some reclassifications and some postage, as well as a digital preservation system. That's a technology system to start to capture digital records for Maine State Archives. What was absent from the budget request was any new positions. Representative Matlack asked about the Department of Secretary of State's desire or willingness to incorporate positions for elections or for Maine State Archives. And we did in fact share that There were 5 positions associated with LD 1155 for a new audit and training division. Maine is one of 6 states in the country that does not have a formal post-election audit process. And we have noticed a gap that the municipal clerks have raised for us, where although we do annual training for clerks, we do not have the capacity to go in and onboard new clerks every time a new clerk starts. So we would be very willing and eager to move forward should the committee decide to suggest those 5 positions as an amendment to the budget. The second issue that was discussed in appropriations last week was LD 1610. That is the issue of data governance and digital records. And there were 2 positions associated with Maine State Archives for that data governance, one being a digital archivist, which is someone who can help to curate and collect and create sort of permanent collections of digital records, and the other being a data architect to work with the technology systems for appropriate data governance capture. So those are also positions that we would welcome should the committee decide to move forward with those for Maine State Archives.
Questions for the Secretary of State? So I look at the request. Is it the total request? Is that 500 and some thousand for the auditor 1 position, an audit 2 position, and a training outreach coordinator? That's about 5. Is it 5 additional positions altogether?
Yes, the audit and training division would be 5 additional positions, and the cost, to your point, would be just over $525,000. I can pull up the exact figure from our director of finance, who prepared that.
Specifically, I understand that we don't have a process, but why don't you tell us exactly what these individuals would be tasked with?
Sure. So there would be a division director, because this would be a new division, and an assistant, as well as 2 auditors and a training coordinator. And the division the training aspect would be helping new clerks onboard, doing regular trainings for municipal clerks. It's something that the clerks have shared with us they would like to see more of, especially as we are seeing unprecedented retirements nationally of local election officials, and we're certainly seeing retirements here in the state of Maine. Additionally, there would be 2 types of audits that the new division would perform. One would be a process audit. We have this in the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. All towns are on a 5-year cycle where our auditors, we have a team of 5 for Bureau of Motor Vehicles, go into the towns on a random basis and audit their vehicle registration processes and finances. This would be to audit election processes. Do the towns, are they following security measures for ballots and equipment? Are they following accessibility requirements for polling places? And the like. Similarly, there would be a results audit immediately following each election. So this would be between November and December before election certification. And it would be a statistical sample where the auditors would develop it's called a risk limiting audit. And it uses a statistical sample of the ballots that are cast to verify the results of the election. So the training and audit division would have those 2 components. The process audit is something that can happen after certification, that can happen all year long. The training obviously happens all year long. Whenever a new clerk onboards, it can almost be like a strike team. Particularly, we've had clerk retirements the day before or the day after an election sometimes. And the audit division would do both the risk limiting audit immediately following the election and the process audit.
Great. Before I recognize Representative Toole, I welcome Representative Matlack, my co-chair. If you want to introduce yourself, good morning.
Thank you, sir. My apologies for being late. My name is Ann Matlack. I represent House District 92, which includes the communities of Cushing, Thomaston, South Thomaston, St. George, Matinicus, Creehaven, and the Muscle Ridge Islands.
Great. Representative Sean Paulus, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Good morning, everyone. It's good to see everybody. Representative Sean Paulus. I represent House District 52, which is all of City of Bath.
Thank you. And Representative William Tool, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify a couple of things, this is not in your actual, these 5 extra positions are not in your request, but rather they're in a piece of legislation that passed through the VLA committee and landed on the appropriations table. Is that, am I understanding that correctly, or did I miss something here?
You're absolutely correct.
Okay, so typically when that happens, the appropriations takes the recommendations of the committee that put it forward and goes from there. I don't expect you to weigh in on that. I was just seeking some clarity because I was a little confused why we were taking this up.
And Representative Matlack had asked me last Monday about the absence of those positions from the budget and whether we would be interested and willing to see the incorporation of those into the budget. And so that's part of why we prepared this information for you for this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Representative Matlack?
Thank you, sir. And good morning, Secretary of State. Yes, I did inquire about the audit bill. Last fall, I was invited to participate in ballot counting, observing ballot counting out in Colorado, where they have a very different system from ours because their government is set up very different than ours. It's county-based, and so that's where the ballot counts are held. And it was just a very interesting exercise. And I also learned about risk limiting audits at that conference. And so when I came back, I was interested in finding out more. And when Representative Prohaski submitted the bill, I was very pleased to see that. But then it didn't, the positions did not appear in the budget. And I think it's important that they appear in the budget and that they not languish on the table. So I was asking whether or not we could find a way to include them in the budget. And I believe it is under the purview of the State and Local Government Committee to be able to include these positions, or suggest that these positions be included in the governor's budget. The bill may have gone through VLA, but staffing at the state Secretary of State's office is something that state and local government does.
Thank you very much, Representative Matlack. I think that's a good overview and helps explain why we're here to help make sure the whole process works. So any other questions for the Secretary of State? Okay, I don't see any. Secretary of State Bellows, did you want to make any other comments?
No, thank you.
Okay,
Really appreciate your attention this morning.
We really appreciate your time. Thank you. Representative Matlack?
Excuse me, my apologies for being late. Did you folks discuss the other positions that were part of Representative Talbot Ross's bill, I believe 1610, for staffing for data collection?
Yeah.
You did? Did we discuss
yeah.
those? Perfect. Then I will catch up.
the-
Then I'll catch up later. If you've already discussed them, I won't have you do it again. Thank you.
No, that's fine.
And I just want to add, we did discuss the 1610 positions for archives, but in response to Representative Matlack's question, I do want to just add 1610 has 5 really important positions that we fully support. There are 2 for archives to look at data governance and digital records. There are 2 for the state economist and 1 for the permanent commission. So just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that we were recognizing that there were 5 positions and we're supportive of the other departments as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Secretary Bellows. And Lynn, is the commissioner the next one from DAFS?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The commissioner is here and several members of her staff, and I will leave it to Commissioner Figueroa to tell us which of her staff she would like to move over.
Thank you.
And if I just may interject, the portions of the budget for the department are in the first several pages and the last page, which is page B1. So the first several pages and the last page.
Commissioner?
Good morning.
Morning, Commissioner.
Morning. I hadn't really expected that I was going to do too much of a presentation, more being here for questions. I do have a couple of comments. There were some questions asked at the public hearing that we are working on a written response. I'm happy to respond to those as we go through. Were you thinking you're going to go through each item right now?
Why don't you make the comments or answer the questions that you want to answer, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm Kirsten Figueroa, the Commissioner of the Department of Administrative and Financial Services. We do have a number of items that impact this committee in our department. Overall, for DAFs, we are asking for 27.5 positions. They're not all in state and local government, but we ask for some administrative positions in a legal position in our human resources. We have some positions in the commissioner's office, including another position for the economist, risk management, and then we have some all other requests, and positions in main information technology, some positions that we're asking to transfer to the general fund that already exist, and some positions that we're asking to create in both the general fund and the other special revenue account of the internal service fund of Maine IT. Some of the questions that came up, I was just going to try and see if I couldn't do that in order of the bill, but disorganized right now, all of my pieces of paper. Okay, I'd like to start with this is their order. Oh, brilliant. Okay, thank you. Oh, yes, and Lynn, thank you. If you could, at least for the very beginning, if you can bring Jenny Boyden in, and then it'll just depend on what questions people have as to whether other people are out there. Representative Matlack asked about the security effort that was happening around the Cross building. So I just wanted to give an update that we did contract with a security assessor for the Cross building, and they did deliver, the vendor was TRC, and they delivered a draft report to us just a little over a month ago in January. There are a number of recommendations that they have. The primary issue that was going, to be addressed really was the fact that there's open access to the Cross building and what might be done about that. And so there was a discussion, and recommendations are that to look at a separate security screening addition over in front of on the south side, the side that faces the museum. And the vendor and architects are currently, the architectural firm that we have helping us with the envelope of this building has had this task added to their scope. And so they are looking to create some versions of what that might look like and give us cost estimates. So we anticipate that those will be ready for us in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then we'll update you as we find. So that was a question that came up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments for the commissioner? So, Representative Walter Reisman?
You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, that better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Commissioner. I have three kind of general questions for you. One has to do with salary band. So for example, in first initiative, you show a salary of 130,000 for a legal analyst. Do you have a set salary band schedule? So, we can tell who's in salary band 1, salary band 2, or whatever it might be. Do you have anything like that?
Yes, we do. On the Bureau of Human Resources website, we have two things. We have classifications by alphabetical order so that you can look up a classification and it will tell you what salary schedule it is on. And then we have a second link that takes you to all of the salary schedules. It depends on if you're supervisory, administrative, financial order position.
So this particular initiative calls for personnel salaries of $130,000, and so that would be located within one of the salary bands, I assume.
Well, you would see the salary component of that in a salary schedule. So depending on what position this is a public service coordinator 2 position. So you would find the salary schedule of that position, and you could find the salary portion in the salary schedule. Obviously, another significant component of this personal services is the benefit package.
Right, I get that. Okay, well, thank you for that information. The second had to do with the internal service fund. There are some items in your proposed budget that are transferring money out of the service fund and charging it to the general fund. So how do you figure out how that works? You have an internal allocation for some of these activities, I assume, that so that the departments are being charged. So do you have like an allocation plan that justifies those changes that you were proposing?
So currently, the Office of Information Technology is primarily it's an internal service fund. We create rates for every service that we provide, and then we bill other agencies that rate. There are some components of main information technology that we are advocating be a part of the general fund versus billing to customers, because some of the customers can pay differently, some of them can't, but overall, there are some services that we feel are important enough that they belong on the general fund, and we're starting to make some of that shift. Last year, we asked you to move some cybersecurity money onto the general fund because the state should have a cybersecurity program and capacity that is not dependent on whether the agencies can pay for that or not. There are certain things that just should be a part of technology. And we're going to keep doing that work. And we appreciate that you made that step. Some additional funds were put into the Maine Jobs and Recovery Act for cybersecurity, and we appreciate that. In this budget, we move some project management positions to general fund because every project that we do should have project management. And right now, depending on whether the project has funding or not, it goes through a project development, the start phase of a project initiation, project development phase with project management. And some agencies have the capacity to pay for that, some projects don't. But it's an important part that everybody who decide, right, once we decide we're going to do a project, especially some of them are more complicated technology projects, we have to go through that, get everybody on the same page, talk about the budget, talk about the process, talk about the project management team that will be on it, talk about the resources that will be needed from the state. And so we are proposing to move some positions from billable to general fund. And then some of the other positions that we are requesting to move are some of our architect cybersecurity positions. Move them to where the general fund money is now. Again, in the spirit of whether or not the agencies have the capacity to pay should not depend on the fact that Maine IT has to have a stronger cybersecurity presence and has to create an architecture foundation so that other systems can plug in safely and create, right, start getting rid of some of the holes that we have as a result of some of our old systems, and think forward thinking to how do we create our foundation with fewer holes such that people can plug into it more safely. And we should be doing that work always, whether or not a department has the funds to pay for it.
So
So we're
along
slow by slow trying to make those decisions and thoughtfully request when we move stuff over. Yet, oh, another thing that we did last year was we moved some positions from radio. You might remember that we moved them off and onto the general fund because the contract was going to be 3 times as expensive than it would be to have in-house capacity. We have some of that happening with technology as well, with the costs of cybersecurity and increased costs of really the supply chain and the knowledge. Some of our contracts who have been helping us with that architecture or cybersecurity, those contracts are going up, up and up. And first of all, we should have an in-house capacity to do it, but also it will probably end up saving us money as those vendors continue to increase their prices.
So
It's a hot commodity right now, cybersecurity.
one more follow-up, Mr. Chair, and I'll be quiet. That was very comprehensive. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm wondering how many of these transfers are in the budget for this year? Is that a dollar amount that you can express? And then the other piece, we can expect this to be continuing in the future.
Yeah. And Jenny might be able to help me with what the transfer amount is, because she might be able to get on the right page fast enough to show you. So she can jump in. This feels like also a really good opportunity for me to talk a little bit. Oh, yeah, there she is.
Hi. Yes, the transfers related to the IT department are on page A6. And there are 4 positions that are being transferred from the Office of Information Services Fund into the general fund for $600,625. It's a reduction in the Information Services Fund and an increase in the general fund appropriation.
Yeah.
So is that the only transfer that's in this supplemental budget?
For us, from another fund into the general fund, I think so. We also create in technology, we create an additional 8 positions on the general fund. But I think the only positions we transfer somewhere else into the general fund are those 4.
Okay. Thank you. I'll stop there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, Representative Copeland, you had a question? Representative Copeland, you're on mute. You're still on
An
mute.
incoming call took over, sorry. So my question is about, so when these are transferred over to the general fund, it's a transparent thing and it's still trackable. People can still look up the individual items. Is that true?
Oh, sure. The positions, you mean? Yeah, our budget system budgets by position. So switching it from one fund to another doesn't just changes the fund. We can still report individually.
Okay. Now talking about IT, I had someone approach me saying that the Parks Department, when they take their reservations in January, that it's a mail-in check process. Are we getting any closer to helping our citizens transact more simply with the state?
I mean, that is, yes, I can. And if Fred is out there, I'd love for him to talk a little bit about, Fred Britton is our CIO. I'd love for him to talk about some of the main jobs recovery money is specifically for developing the citizen portal option. Again, I do want to say, more of those funds are for us to make sure that we have a strong foundation. We're not going to be able to build every system that's going to make it easier for a citizen to interact with our every piece of work that we do. But Fred, do you want to talk a little bit about that effort?
Sure, thank you. Good morning, I'm Fred Britton, I'm the Chief Information Officer. Within the MEJRP, one of the initiatives is the expansion of Digital Citizen Portal, which would be an addition to what we do today with maine.gov, where citizens and other folks can begin to authenticate to the portal, receive recommendations about services, and really streamline that process of how they interact with a number of different government services, and with one of the goals being not having to think about which agency you're interacting with in the moment, but more of a look from the perspective of the public. To answer the question specifically about parks, there is many of the campgrounds are already live on maine.gov for reservations. One of the interesting things we've seen was last year with COVID was record numbers for reservations. Those typically open up in the January, February, March timeframe for different areas. And then surprisingly this year set even higher records than last year for reservations on those opening days. So there are a number of services in play. I believe there are multiple ways where people can do that online, or the more traditional send in a check. So it may be that there's some user education that we can look at.
Okay, I specifically was contacted about Lemoyne State Park and Lily Bay. So I'm going by what I was told. I have not looked into it completely. So if there's some education there, I'd be happy to share that message as well.
And I will do some follow-up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Toole, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner, for your remarks today. I would like to get back to the number of positions. So you said earlier, and you said last week, that DAFS was looking to add 27.5 positions. How many of those are within SLG's purview? I mean, do we have just a general figure as to how many you're adding versus how many you're transferring? I know it's there somewhere, but I confess it doesn't make the most sense to me sometimes.
Yeah, Jenny's coming. I should know that. We've been doing it by the department, but
We do have it broken down at a different level. So there is one in HR that would fall under SLG. There are, I'm scrolling through. There are a total of 12 in IT.
and that's the 4 that we just talked about transferring from the special, the internal service fund. Those are not new positions. They would be headcount that transfer. And then the 8 that we're talking about creating.
Correct. Sorry, my screen just changed. So there are also 3 within the Office of the Commissioner.
Yeah,
which
so I'll talk about those, Jenny, while you keep. So I have 3 positions in the Office of the Commissioner. As a reminder, one of them is meant to be administrative support for my Director of Communications and the Legislative Liaison. And I provided a number of statistics in my testimony about how we do not have the capacity in this office to manage, given the level that we have, our legislative tracking and reporting, of which we now have 86 reports due, and our FOIA, of which we are the third largest department in our FOIA and our second largest department in LDs that we track. Another position in the department is meant to be a part of my senior team to help manage the operating, policy, and coordination efforts of Maine IT and Maine Revenue Services. The department is complicated and comprehensive, let me say, and I do have some structure that has people helping me manage and keep track of all of the things that are happening in some of the other divisions, like alcoholic beverages, lottery, the Office of Marijuana Policy. And so I'm realizing that I need a similar position that kind of helps me keep track of all those details for the technology side and the Maine revenue side. And then the third position in the Office of the Commissioner is an economist position in our Office of the Economist, of which there are two right now to do yeoman's work of all of the information that people are asking of that office all of the time. We have the state economist and one staff economist, and we're looking to add another.
And the only other position I think that is related to SLG is in the Workers' Compensation Management Program.
Okay, and that position is for the fact that currently our workers' comp benefits managers manage upwards of 400 to 500, 300 to 400. I don't want to exaggerate. I think it's 300 to 400 cases, and this would bring them down closer to a industry standard.
Okay.
So that is 12, so that is 9, 12, 13 new positions and 4 transferring positions.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was kind of trying to get a big picture of it, because it is so easy to lose track of this position and that position. And then with respect to LD 1610, which we talked about earlier, and some of these others, you folks would be getting additional positions there should they be absorbed into the budget as well. Is that correct?
We would get currently, and I'm glad you brought that up, at some point, somehow, there needs to be a technology, Maine IT position attached to that 1610. It got dropped off, similar to the comments that the Secretary of State made. The Maine Information Technology Group would also need a data architect for that effort, so that would be added. But currently existing, of the 5 positions that the Secretary of State mentioned and that are in that LD, 2 of them are in the Office of the Economist. The position that we're asking for is necessary whether or not LD 1610 moves forward. If LD 1610 moves forward, we would need another 2 positions in the Economist office.
Okay, so we could have as many as 17 or 18 positions, depending on what all comes out of this whole discussion.
We'd have 3 more. So we'd be talking about 16 new and 4 transferring if those 3 positions get through. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think if you don't mind, I'd also, something that came up quite a bit was the conversation about the classification and compensation study. And I know we have we're going to have a conversation about that on Wednesday as well. I did just want to be able to provide the committee an update that, briefly, to just talk about some of the 15% conversation. As a reminder, that classification compensation studies showed that on average, compared to some private sector, there are positions that are off on average 15% in state government. When you compare that to private sector, it's more like 11%. And in this administration, we definitely have prioritized employees and state government despite the impacts of the pandemic. And we're proud that this administration has been able to avoid state worker layoffs, furloughs, or pay freezes during the pandemic. We prioritize state employees and the important programs and services that depend on them, and that commitment is steadfast. We have done a number of pay increases as part of collective bargaining, which is the process that we use to negotiate salaries in state government. We raised pay for state employees by 4% on average in January of 2021. And then on top of that, since the receipt of the report, we've deployed resources that improve pay for bargaining unit positions by an additional 9.26%, making significant progress to closing that worker pay gap. So we had a 2% in December of 2021. We are raising pay for employees by an additional 4% in July of 2022. We have issued a one-time $2,000 payment to employees in December of 2021, prorated for seasonal and part-time. And then that payment is in process right now for certain law enforcement positions. We've eliminated the bottom salary step of all of our salary schedules, ensuring that no employee is hired at that minimum rate moving forward. We increased longevity for workers who have more than 10 years of service. That's an additional pay component. And then we've increased, as discussed, we've increased the base pay to $15 per hour. So that is the lowest starting salary in state government now. That positively impacted 382 employees for an average pay increase of 9% for the lowest paid positions in the state workforce. And we do know that from national talent surveys that employees focus first and foremost on workplace culture, including an ability to strike a work-life balance, followed by peer progressions, benefits, and then compensation. So that's why, in addition to making these positive strides towards pay, we're proud to have recently earned the distinction for the second year in a row as one of the country's best large employers in Forbes magazine, based upon an anonymous survey of 60,000 workers nationwide. So it is a delicate balance. I say that it is a delicate balance. Salary is important, but so is public service and job growth. And those are opportunities that we do give our employees. And I will outline more of this for you on Wednesday, but I just want an opportunity to start that conversation today, as that has came up quite a bit.
Okay. I would ask the Representative Reisman, Representative Copeland, and Commissioner Figueroa if we could take, I want to give a courtesy to Senator Marianne Moore before she leaves. She wanted to make some remarks about her bill. So
sure.
if Cheryl, if we could take a pause on this for a minute and ask Senator Moore to join us, and then we can let her go.
I believe, Lynn, did you have a comment? Lynn Caswell? Or, no, Lynn Copeland's hand was up, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I'm going to recognize her when we come back.
Okay.
But Senator Moore had a scheduling conflict issue, and I trying to accommodate her as best I can. Senator Moore, good morning. I know that you have legislation before us, and I wanted to make sure we gave you an opportunity before you had to leave. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Baldacci. I really do appreciate you making the exception for me so that I can head out the door quickly here. Good morning, Senator Baldacci, Representative Matlick, and distinguished members of the State and Local Government Joint Standing Committee. My name is Marianne Moore, and I proudly represent Senate District 6, which includes all of Washington County, along with Winter Harbor, Goldsboro, and Sullivan in Hancock County as well. I'm here to introduce LD 2011, which is an act to allow the annexation of certain lands by Columbia Falls. You will see in the bill, we are seeking to annex roughly 11,000 privately owned acres from 2 unorganized territories and incorporate them into the local governance of Columbia Falls in Washington County. The specifics regarding each of the properties are outlined in sections 1 and 2 of the bill. All of the land is held by the same owner, who plans to build a patriotic park designed to honor our nation's heroes and build American unity. Specific plans for the flagpole of Freedom Park are being finalized and will be released to the public during a press event scheduled for March 29th at the Augusta Civic Center. And I understand there will be some folks after me who will also be sharing more information about that. The two primary reasons we are asking for this annexation is to provide local control and decision-making ability to the municipalities, as well as maintain the same level of environmental harmony that exists today. The developers have been working closely with the town of Columbia Falls, as well as the Washington County Commissioners, with strong support. This bill would authorize the annexation of the two parcels currently located in Centerville Township and T19MD BPP to the town of Columbia Falls, subject to the referendum whose wording is spelled out in Section 5 of the bill. Because there are no legal voters in the two referenced unorganized territories, the referendum would only need to be addressed by the town of Columbia Falls. As you can imagine, a project such as this will be a major economic driver to an already economically challenged county. I strongly ask for your support of LD 2011. Thank you for your time and for allowing me to break up a little bit here and come in at a speed presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Moore. Thank you for being available and being patient. Are there any questions for Senator Moore? Representative Toole?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I apologize, I missed a little bit of your presentation, but did you speak about the county and or the town being supportive of this legislation and whether or not they had submitted testimony to that effect? And I do apologize.
That's all right, Representative Toole. They did, and I did address that in my presentation. And you will see under your electronic documents that you do have a letter signed by the county commissioners. And I believe there will be a testimony from one of the selectmen or a representative of the town as well. They are in total support of what the action that we're trying to take at this point in time.
And thank you. And I just got a phone call I could not skip, so
no problem.
Missing
and my testimony is also posted. I put that up here just a few minutes ago.
Thank you, and have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Moore. I appreciate it. And as always, it's important for all of us to be flexible. So, but thank you very much. And
sure,
talk
thank
to you later.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. So we will now take a pause from LD 2011. I do want to recognize Representative Mark Bryan has joined us. Representative Bryan, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Chair Baldacci. I'm Mark Bryan. I represent House District 24, part of the town of Wyndham. Good morning. I do apologize for being late.
Representative Copeland, you had your hand up when last we were on this topic.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am so happy to hear from Commissioner Figueroa the wonderful things that we're doing for the employees of the state of Maine. Without them, the work that we do would never happen. So, and helping the citizenry is so important. And I'm just really happy to hear about all those positive steps. And I had a whole list of things I was going to ask, but she so very wonderfully talked about almost all of it. My one concern was about the COLA, the cost of living, and to fully fund it at 5.4%. And I'm wondering if that's in her budget.
For the retirees. Yeah.
Yeah, the retirees and yeah,
So the retirees COLA is maxed in statute at 3%. And in the governor's budget is a one-time payment to make the difference between the 3% and what the CPIU was for this year, which is 5.4%. On average, that will mean a payment of roughly $375 to $390 for roughly, I think it's 13,000. I can get that number. I think it's 13,095 retirees.
That's okay. You don't need to get that number, but it's just important, especially for retirees, to keep the COLA going. You know, I saw that there, you know, COLA was ignored for a long time, and it's critical to people who are on fixed income. So, all right, thank you so much.
Representative Copeland, thank you.
I'd like to, oh, sorry.
Oh, no,
I'd like
it's all
to
right.
correct the answer that, I'm sorry that we were a little bit disorganized. Representative Toole's question about how many positions are in DAFs that fall into this committee. The answer is 17 plus 4 transfers from existing positions that we're transferring to the general fund. And the 17 new are 1 HR position, 12 OIT positions. So we are creating 12 new positions, 8 for cybersecurity and architecture, and 4 for project management, all related to the same conversation that I had, the importance of creating a solid architecture and infrastructure for all of our systems, including that the new citizen portal, and then the importance of having project management on every project in state government. 3 in the office of the commissioner and 1 in workers' comp. If I have done that math wrong again, I'm just gonna have to call it a day. But and then there are the 4 transfers. So my apologies. I lost those project management positions in there, but I don't want to lose them in the discussion because all the positions that we're asking for.
We won't let that happen. We won't let that happen. Representative Reisman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question on page A5 under the COVID pandemic relief payment program. Is there an overlap of committee authority on that, or is this just our state and local government oversight on this particular piece?
Actually, I did that one in taxation. So I covered that in the taxation committee.
So that should not be in, that's not the state and local government's purview. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned at the joint meeting we had with the appropriations, that one was under taxation's purview, I believe. I had a question, Commissioner, in terms of this COLA payment, is that going to be built into the baseline? Or is that just a one-time payment?
It's a one-time payment.
So if we wanted to build it into the baseline, we would have to amend the statute.
We'd have to amend the initiative. And yes, I would work with the main PERS to talk about what kind of language we would need for that. And
one of the things I might be interested in discussing, I mean, just would be to, because Maine state employees have taken a, in my opinion, on the chin for a long time, and I would like to at least know what the ramifications would be of building this into the baseline, but for our work, for our later votes on this. Just, I think that because, you know, it's unlikely inflation is going to go down anytime soon, but I also don't want them to lose, you know, their purchasing power. So those are just my concerns. Any other questions or comments for the commissioner?
Okay. Go through.
Commissioner, I really appreciate your being here. I also, you know, over the last, as a freshman senator, I just want to say how great it is to work with your office, and really what an exceptional job you folks have done, particularly, with the recovery money and the rest of it. So I just want to thank you and hope you have a good day. Oh, Representative Matlack.
Yep, my apologies, sir. I was just leafing through my pages. Representative Fay at our recent meeting brought up under GoPIF, a silver cabinet. Is that something that is in the works?
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, the Cabinet on Aging, I think is what we'll be referring to that. And in the change package, we will be proposing a position to staff that. And yes, there is effort underway right now to create the executive order that will create that cabinet. And
wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you.
Representative Toole, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm sorry again, but the change package triggered my memory. And going back to the positions, do you plan on adding additional positions in the change package or subtracting any, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, we haven't finalized the change package. We're working to do that hopefully this week. At this particular moment, the silver cabinet position is one, and then there is a position in DAFs that I inadvertently left out that we would be asking for, and that is a plant maintenance position. We currently have a group of dedicated professionals keeping some of our older heating systems and cooling systems operating, and there are not enough of them. And I inadvertently took it out of my budget, and I asked the governor if I could include it in the change package, and she has authorized that. And like I said, though, but I don't think there are any others, but we are still trying to finalize that change package at the same time that we're trying to finalize the supplemental.
Thank you.
Lots of juggling balls. And Representative Copeland, I do want to say I look forward to the conversation on Wednesday. I am a state employee. We are the department that oversees all of human resources for the state. And it matters to us that state employees are taken care of to the degree that, that balance between the fiscal responsibility that we have and the human resource responsibility that we have. And there are a number of things that we've been able to creatively do for employees, particularly through the pandemic, that I look forward to talking to you about as we further explore what the work that we're doing on the classification compensation study. So
thank you so much. We just can't say enough about how much we value our employees. Whether it's this time, whether it's the great resignation or not, I mean, they're important and they do good work. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner, thank you, and thank you to your staff, your department.
We'll see you on
Next.
Wednesday.
See you on Wednesday. Next, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you have two more portions of government to hear from. The next would be Brian Hubble, who is going to talk to you about the Governor's Office of Policy, Innovation, and the Future. That initiative is on page A70 of the budget package. And then the treasurer will be next.
Great. Mr. Hubble here. Here he is. Good morning, Mr. Hubble. Welcome to State and Local Government Committee. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Senator Baldacci, Representative Matlack, members of the State and Local Government Committee. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Brian Hubble. I'm a policy advisor in the Governor's Office of policy innovation in the future. And as you know, we're not a separate agency. We're actually part of the governor's office, engaged in some of the governor's major policy initiatives, particularly in relation to not just climate and energy, but the opioid response, housing, the children's cabinet, workforce development, and currently also the implementation in partnership with DAFs with the jobs and recovery plan. And also prospectively, I guess, as well as the work on aging that the governor will be proposing. There's one item, one initiative in the supplemental budget that connects to our office, which is simply to continue an existing position that it's been in place for 2 years now, relating to coordination of policy work, particularly with climate and energy in the areas of transportation. And that's work that supports the climate plan's goals in relation to emissions mitigation and adaptation. So that connects with Maine Department of Transportation, DEP, and also significantly now with municipalities and regional planning organizations. That's the work that we're doing in the office that position supports. Doesn't have general fund impact. It's currently supported through a grant from the U.S. Climate Alliance, which is an organization of U.S. governors that are committed to climate mitigation and adaptation. And we see that funding as being stable for now. Last, I would say, as you're aware, Congress is committed substantial money for infrastructure going forward for the next 10 years. And a lot of that impacts climate infrastructure, resiliency, and work of that nature, which this position supports. So that's the background on the initiative. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Mr. Hubble. Any questions? Mr. Hubble? Mr. Hubble, I think go ahead, Representative Matlack, go ahead.
Well, thank you. And welcome, Mr. Hubble. Mr. Hubble was my seatmate last term. So it's good to see you again, sir.
You, Representative.
Yes. It's quite an amazing office that you have there. There are starting from 2 people at the very beginning to a group that is accomplishing great things in a variety of areas. How is Mr. Smith? People in the past incorrectly called him Dr. Smith, but Mr. Smith. How is Mr. Smith's work going with the opioid addiction resolutions?
Well, of course, I'm not going to speak directly for Gordon, but that work is steady. And Gordon, Mr. Smith, excuse me, was in fact, I think the first person that the governor brought in to our office, being, as you well know, totally committed to that ongoing problem of opioid recovery. It's steady work. That's what I can say. It's very serious, and we're glad to have the collaboration and support from the legislature on moving forward with that. It touches upon everything, as you well know.
It does. Thank you. It's good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hubble. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Have a great day. We appreciate your time and commitment to public service. Okay. I think the treasurer is on. Is that correct, Lynn?
Yes, 2 representatives from the treasurer's office, Gregory Olson and Jeff Chetkowski. And their portion of the budget is on page A155. There's 3 initiatives.
Great. Greg, good to see you. And Jeff, good morning. Welcome to the State and Local Government Committee.
Good morning, Senator Baldacci, Representative Matlack. Very much appreciate the opportunity to present here to the members of the State and Local Government Committee on a number of initiatives from the Office of the State Treasurer. Treasurer Beck, unfortunately not able to join today, but he does send his regrets and pleased to be able to present these items and well as answer questions on these initiatives. There should be a third member of the Treasury staff, Laura Hudson, another expert on some of these matters that hopefully she can be elevated from.
Sure. Cheryl, Ms. McGowan, can you bring in Ms. Hudson? Thanks, Greg. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Senator. So in short, I'm gonna provide an overview, and then I'm gonna ask for some expert details from both Jeff and Laura. The Unclaimed Property Program is where these 3 initiatives all touch. One initiative is for us to acquire a subscription for a fraud detection software that would help reduce the number of fraudulent claims that we get involved in, as well as improve the efficiency of our claim office. Second initiative is a 5% increase in the overall budget. In short, our overhead for a number of items within unclaimed property has increased over the last several years, and looking for the funds to enable us to continue to use various software and applications in reaching out to holders and returning property to owners. And then finally, we are looking for a $50,000 increase in what we consider to be our outreach budget. We believe our unclaimed property program has generated good returns for the state. In an average year, we expect about $6 million to be turned over to the general fund from these collections. By point of comparison, last year we were able to turn over $14 million to the general fund, which we think is through diligent work from our unclaimed property department. And just some top line notes, the state holds $290 million worth of property held for owners that we are in constant effort to return to them. And we have been increasing the amount we return every year, as well as increasing the funds we turn over to the general fund. So we think these initiatives are worth the investment for the state, and would be happy to answer questions. And if they are above my head, I will hand them over to the experts from our Office of the State Treasurer. But thank you for the time and happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Olson? Representative Reisman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your testimony, Mr. Olson. I'm wondering the trend here that we're looking at. So that's part one. Do you expect more claims, relatively speaking, in the future? And the second, you mentioned something about money will go into the general fund at some point. How exactly does that work, that part?
That's a great question, Representative Reisman, and I'm actually going to hand that over to Jeff Chakauskas, who is a 20-year veteran of the unclaimed property program, and I think has the best handle on this of anybody in the state. Jeff, if you would.
So yeah, first I'll speak towards, and welcome. I'm Jeff Chakauskas, Assistant Director. And so when it comes to the general fund, what happens is the Treasurer's Office receives money from businesses who have lost contact with owners over the course of the fiscal year. And the Treasurer's Office pays claims to owners who have been found from those properties over the course of the fiscal year. And what happens is at the end of the general fund, excess funds in that fund will go to, excess funds in the unclaimed property fund will go to the general fund. Then the Treasurer's Office will hold $500,000 to start the new fiscal year. And we just kind of repeat that cycle over and over. So claims are paid out of that unclaimed property fund. The liability stays with the Treasury for all properties, which is where the $290 million comes from. But most of that money has been already in previous years transferred to the general fund. So the first question was about the trend. And I would say what I've seen in the last few years, there's been a slight increase in the amount of money that has been lost and collected. And Laura will be able to speak a little more towards the information we've received from the industry as far as who reports and who doesn't. But the trend we've had in the last few years is probably a decrease overall in holders in compliance, and a big part of that has to do with the holder outreach initiative. But the funding has been increasing. What we do expect to see in the next couple of years is some decreasing to those numbers as we move into the next fiscal year. Will be the first year where the changes in statute for gift obligations is decreasing the percentage that is turned over to the Treasurer's Office. And we'll probably see about a $1.5 million decrease each year over the next 3 years to when it becomes 0% of gift card obligations are turned over to the Treasurer's Office.
Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Hudson. How you doing?
I'm great.
Good. Can you tell us about your portion of the budget or your comments
Sure.
on the budget request?
Sure.
Thanks.
So my name is Laura Hudson. I'm the Director of Internal Operations for the Office of the Treasurer. In my previous life, I was an advertising executive. For those of you who have been in Maine forever, I was at Laverdier's Super Drugstore in the advertising department for 10 years. And then I was with the community bank for another 12 years. And I only share that with you to tell you I'm a so-called expert in such things, outreach. The $50,000 that we're asking for outreach is really important at this point. In the last 3 years, we've done a lot of outreach with no resources, but every time we are able to do some of this work, it actually generates costs. One of the examples that you may have seen in the testimony was that we were able to reunite Mainers with, I don't know, about $5.5 million in unclaimed property, but at a cost of $19,000. And the unclaimed property budget just can't support that. Also, we don't have a full-time holder position, someone that is responsible for managing all of the holder side. Those are the organizations, companies, people that have unclaimed property. And so in the absence of that, we do it ourselves. And so we just need to be much more aggressive and diligent so that we can continue to increase what we're getting for unclaimed property. We hired a company, Kelmar, that we do business with. And in their estimation, last year's fiscal, I think we brought in $31.5 million. They said it could have been 40 million if with some extra diligence and actually with a full-time employee doing that. And again, in the absence of that, if we had $50,000, and it's a small ask for outreach, we'd be able to reach out to holders, create some educational components. We'd be able to do some mailings to constituents to get their unclaimed property to them. We'd be able to boost social media posts and the like, and I think generate an immediate return.
Representative Tool, you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the $50,000 that you're asking for this to be, you're asking for us to bring this money into the budget. Has there been any thought of using existing unclaimed property revenue? I know you've got hundreds of millions of dollars there, and some of it has been sitting there for decades. Has there been any talk about using some of that money to promote the how much money there is? Has there been any thought of using some of that money to get the money out, if you get what I'm trying to say?
Jeff has an answer to that.
Yeah. So actually, all money that is used for unclaimed property, it does come from the unclaimed property fund already.
Okay.
It's just what we're allowed to use in what's appropriated for
Okay.
expenses.
Okay.
So we have what's set for appropriations, and what happens with the unclaimed property fund is money that comes in for holder reports is revenue coming in. Money that's paid to claimants decreases the revenue, and then we have what's allowed for our appropriations for the year. And so then the net of that is what gets turned over to the general fund at the end of the year. So we already currently do that.
Okay, thank you very much. I wasn't sure on that. I thought so, but I
No
wasn't.
problem.
Representative Reisman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question is there substantial or complete compliance with the law about companies turning over funds? Like specifically, I'm thinking of outstanding checks that never get cashed. Is there a rule in place that makes sure that that happens, and do you follow up with compliance around that?
That's a great question, Representative Jeff. I don't know if you want to talk about the compliance and the things and what those statistics look like.
Yeah, so that, and for the most part, the law is in place for that compliance. When holders aren't in compliance, that's where the outreach and education comes in. A lot of times where holders aren't in compliance is because they're unaware of the unclaimed property law. And so that's where the stacked program comes in, is to help reach out to those holders that have been determined. What they usually do is look at the large scale, the multi-million-dollar companies in the state who are not reporting regularly, to educate them about the program. And for the most part, what we've seen is holders, once they are understanding of the program, are willing to comply.
And may I add to that?
Sure.
What we've found in having this company I referred to earlier, Kelmar, do some research is that we do have compliance, but with the number of businesses and the types of businesses in the state of Maine, we're getting about a third to a half of what we could and should be getting from holders.
So so the analysis is that you're not getting what you should be getting. Is there an analysis about how to fix that, or?
That's where the $50,000 comes in.
Okay, okay, I understand. That's to put a dent in that number. Is that correct?
Yes, and ultimately, we'd love to have a dedicated person to do the holder side of the business, because it really does require a full-time position. But in the absence of that, and we will ask for that in the next budget, I think, but in the absence of that, this is a great step in the right direction, in our opinion.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good idea to look at that as a next step, because obviously that position could more than pay for itself. So, any other questions?
And Jeff can, stop me if this is wrong. But generally, we tend to think the more compliance with holders means the more money collected, the more money returned to constituents, and the more money paid to the general fund. So, getting that initial figure higher tends to benefit everybody.
Right. And as I said, it would help, it would pay for itself. So one question I did have based on there was an article in the Bangor Daily a couple weeks ago about you guys handle investments for the state of Maine PERS, is that correct?
The treasurer is an ex officio member of the Maine PERS board. We do not individually manage Maine PERS.
So the article had talked about there was 19 million invested in Russian stocks that have basically become worthless now. Be nice to have some sort of update as to what we're doing to divest or sell off those stocks. If you guys could provide some information, just it's not related directly to this budget, but it'd be helpful public information to know what we're doing to get rid of those assets and how we're dealing with the situation.
I can offer some insight on less the Maine PERS and more of the state trust funds. We, manage roughly 80 million in trust funds that are in well-diversified index funds. And, we looked into this a few weeks ago. We did have some minor exposure to Russian investments. But since we invest these funds through indexes, many of the indexes have taken the step of divesting themselves and no longer tracking Russian investments. So from the state trust funds, we feel comfortable that we have moved from a very small exposure to what is considered to be de minimis. I have heard similar things from Maine PERS. We can make that request to them, but it may be better directed direct to the retirement system.
No, and I can do that as well, but if the treasurer's office can make that request to at least provide,
sure
to
thing,
facilitate that information, that would be most helpful.
absolutely,
So-
no problem, Senator.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Greg, Jeff, Laura, thank you very much for your service and your help to everybody in the state of Maine get the money they deserve and to help the state balance its budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Any other items under the supplemental budget, Lynn?
No, that's all for the supplemental budget.
How about if we take a break until 10:40, just 13 minutes, and come back and do the LD public hearing? Okay, great. See everybody at 10:40. Just waiting for Lynn Caswell to come back on.
Senator Moore is here by phone.
Oh, great. Hey, Senator Moore again.
Hello there. I'll be right back. I've got to go deliver a Meals on Wheels. I'll be right back.
Oh,
She's going to be in and out.
Okay. So Lynn, our next item is a public hearing on LD 2011.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. And I believe there's several individuals who are in the waiting room.
Yeah, so what we have is a Christopher Gardner with the Washington County Commissioners. If we could just let them all in, they can go after one after the other. Chris Gardner, Dennis Damon, Rob Worcester, Tim Pease, and Tony Santiago. If we can let them all in, and then we'll start with Chris. Good morning, Commissioner Gardner.
Good morning. Everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. We have heard from the sponsor of the bill, Senator Moore, and I understand that you're speaking in favor of LD 2011. Is that correct?
That is correct. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I'm here today to speak to the affirmative.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead, sir?
Wonderful. And again, thanks for the opportunity to be here today. We are here to speak today on LD 2011. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces on this committee, and I wish you all very well. Again, to introduce, I am Chris Gardner. I'm chairman of the Washington County Commissioners, and speaking on behalf of 2011, simply put, we believe that this portion of the two unorganized territories and its annexation into Columbia Falls for the purpose of giving that local control that Senator Moore spoke of earlier is really just the right thing to do. It's well known that our county is one of those ones that is kind of the least populated and has a lot of economic challenges here in Maine. And that being said, we don't want to see, just any development that would radically alter our area's unique quality of life or destroy that kind of open space. But we do have to look for things that can be, a positive game changer for us. The proposed park is designed to do that very thing with all those values in mind. It's in an inland area that minimizes noise, visual, traffic impacts, the existing community, etc. It does take advantage of the natural landscape, and for the purpose, of celebrating, and honoring, our veterans and the freedom, it's consistent certainly with the core values of the people of Washington County. And when fully built, this park will be a source of pride, obviously not just for our county, but we believe the region, the state, the country as a whole. It'll also be a year-round economic driver. I think everybody agrees with that, but it's not one that will, again, spoil our natural resources or simply just be a flash in the pan for a few short years. So this should be a real change for us. The jobs created during the construction will lead to operating the park, which is all greater economic stability for the long term for a county that desperately needs to continue to reinvent itself. And let's face it, recreational opportunities are among some of the biggest draws in the state, and a patriotic park of this sort will certainly draw visitors far and wide, not only to our county, but also, to the overall state. We firmly believe this project, we should be located squarely within the community of Columbia Falls. They're for it as we understand it. We know it still has to go to referendum there, but our feel is on the ground, see that this is a win-win, all across the board. At the March 10th meeting of the commissioners, this legislation was discussed publicly, and the commissioners, and along with our long-running UT supervisor, Dean Preston, who, as coincidence, we're immensely proud to say within Washington County also serves as General Dean Preston of the Maine National Guard. So obviously he has extensive knowledge of not only the unorganized territories, but also what this project represents. And with his collective experience, he sees absolutely no issues in the annexation and supports the move. Because quite honestly, as county commissioners, we kind of struggle when we see towns that want to deorganize. So it's a welcome push to actually see this going back the other way, that we can see this unorganized territories move to reorganization. So with all of that, simply put, we as the county working together with Columbia Falls, we would encourage this committee to support the bill and allow the voters of Columbia Falls to formally have their vote heard when they can move this to a public hearing. And with that, I certainly will avail myself to any questions that the committee may have.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Gardner. Are there any questions for the commissioner? Representative Matlack?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome to State and Local Government, Mr. Gardner. The question I have is something that you touched on, where some municipalities have been deorganizing. Rarely do we have unorganized territories wanting to come back into an organized structure. What sort of changes will happen? I'm just curious. What sort of changes happen when the two pieces come back into and become part of Columbia Falls? They are appraised differently. Services are different, or what happens when something like that occurs?
Well, what it actually does is it probably gets control of the land closer to the local population, if it will. We as commissioners serve as the municipal entities, if you will, the municipal agents for unorganized territories, but we don't necessarily, live in those areas. Ironically enough, I do live in a UT, but not certainly in that one. So the first thing about it is it gets that land back under more localized control because it fits in better with local zoning and whatnot, and necessarily not being just part of a big overall planning document, say with LUPSI. The other thing, as far as taxes go, the valuation really won't be much different, especially at the localized level, because the county tax rate is applied to the unorganized territories just the same as it is to anything on the municipalities side of the house. And these are currently large undeveloped tracts of land. So in the current tax valuation, it certainly won't make much difference at all. But going forward, as it's developed, what it'll allow that to do is keep a lot of those tax dollars at a localized level and help us provide more direct services, again, at a localized level.
Thank you.
Other questions for Commissioner Gardner? Representative Copeland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for coming, Mr. Gardner.
Absolutely.
It's good to hear from our county commissioners. I'm just curious, why is it needed to, why do you need to have annexation of this in your township? I mean, if they're going to put up a park, why don't they just put up a park? And if they have to apply to two different, I don't know the structure, so I'll just say two different, I know that you don't have zoning board, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
Why do you need to combine them?
Well, first, I would let the project developers speak more to that because I think there is a thing around planning that makes a lot more sense. I know that they've had some conversations with the planners, both in the unorganized territories and at the local and town level. And I think, again, letting them speak to it, there are some efficiencies to be found rather than trying to split between the two. And, ultimately, at the end of the day, the state still has that umbrella over the top of it, so to speak, through the DEP. The DEP still has to approve, anything that goes through on the development and planning phases. So it just takes that bifurcation out, if you will, working between two entities, so to speak. And I think it, as I understand it, makes it a little more streamlined, to overuse a word, so to speak. But I certainly would let the developer speak to that better.
I'm wondering how large this project is.
It's considerable, and we have seen it at a briefing level, and we're quite impressed by it, and we see it as certainly a net positive for our county. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but the developers certainly can speak more to that more eloquently than I can.
I'm curious about the acreage.
Yep, absolutely. I'm sure they can provide that to you.
Questions for the commissioner? Hearing none. Our next speaker is the Honorable former Senator Dennis Damon, Hancock County. Washington County as well. So he's good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Senator Baldacci. If you don't mind, our presentation has had some sequence to it.
Okay.
And if I could be a little later, my remarks are scheduled for a little later in the presentation, and And so I don't propose to direct the chair, but if you could.
That's fine. Is Mr. Rob Worcester want to go next?
Sure. Was that the plan, Tim, or did we want Tony Santiago to speak next?
Rob, why don't you go first and then we can go over to Mr. Santiago.
Great. Good morning to the Honorable Senator Baldacci, Representative Matlack, and the members of the Joint Standing Committee on the State and Local Government. My name is Rob Worcester, co-founder of the Flagpole of Freedom Park, alongside my father, Morrill, and my brother, Mike Worcester. I'm here today to voice support for LD 2011, an act to allow the annexation of certain lands by Columbia Falls. Freedom Park is a visionary idea that started 12 years ago. I could tell you about the hundreds of sketches we drew on the backs of napkins, the thousands upon thousands of conversations we've had dreaming up this place. The walks we've taken through our forest, mapping out where everything would go, has been a very special process for my family, and we can't wait to share it with the world. Over the last few months, as we started meeting with stakeholders, it has been amazing to see our idea grow wings. Its planning and development are inspired by our 30 years of placing wreaths at the headstones of our American military veterans with the Wreaths Across America organization as a labor of love. Flagpole of Freedom Park is an initiative of historic scale and scope with a core goal to unite America. Fueled by love of country, respect for veterans, and a thirst for this country's storied history, we want to unite the divided. At this apolitical destination, pride has no party. The park is part national monument, part historical adventure, part immersive tech-driven museum, and part architectural wonder. Freedom Park will feature the largest flagpole in the world, an unprecedented symbol of national pride and freedom. It will honor all 24 million deceased American veterans in one place, the only memorial of its kind in the country. The park will honor their service over the past 250 years through immersive, educational, and awe-inspiring experiences. It will connect people to each other, to our country's past and future, fostering pride and understanding. It'll be a catalyst for positive change, building unity and pride through a better understanding of our nation's history. Freedom Park will create economic opportunity for Washington County in the form of new year-round jobs, both direct and indirect. The development team recognizes how a project of this scale can transform the surrounding communities. We've gone to great lengths to minimize the disruption for area residents and the environment in our planning. This park would not be possible without the support of our neighbors and fellow community members. We've held a lot of public forums, and we want to publicly thank you for listening and for expressing support for the park. We want this to be a first-class destination that we can all be proud of. Finally, on behalf of the family, I'd like to thank those of you that sponsored this annexation bill, and also those of you that are giving supporting testimony. To make all the committee comfortable with the project, we appreciate any questions or concerns about this truly meaningful park. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Worcester? Mr. Worcester, I'm sorry, Representative Matlack, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Good morning, Mr. Worcester, and welcome to State and Local Government. A question about the property that you are proposing to move to Columbia Falls. We've heard that it's not populated. What purpose does it serve right now?
It's privately owned by the family. We actually are in the process of some of the property we are transforming into be a brush farm. Actually, we grow the tips that are made into the wreaths that we place on the veterans' graves all over the country on some of this property that, you know, that is suitable to do so. The rest of it, we kind of enjoy it as a natural Maine forest. We do maintain it as forest property, you know, and try to economically benefit from that a little bit. But it's very special to us, and we'd like to be able to share it to everyone. There is a series of hills within the property that be perfect for this development that we've planned. And as part of the development, we actually plan on permanently kind of leaving it natural, so the park itself, the annexation is 11,000 acres, but that kind of gives us access to the Route 192 corridor and Route 9, as well as access from Route 1. But the park itself is on about 2,500 acres, of which we're only going to disturb about 12% of that. The rest of it will leave as is and always will be as is. So we're going to try to protect it.
Okay. Another quick question, is the property in tree growth?
There's, it's a mix, actually. Some of the properties have been changed to farmland recently in actually the last 12 months. But there's a mix. Most of it is in tree growth. And then there are big sections of it where we have been producing the balsam tips that have been changed to farmland.
Okay. All right. Will that have an impact on the property itself? Do you have to take it out of tree growth in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish with the park?
I believe we do, yeah, as far as the development and things that will happen.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Mark Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Whistler, for coming.
Representative Bryant, you're on mute right now.
Do you have, thank you, Senator. Do you have maps of that, and will you have them available for us for the work session so we can actually put our heads around what you have? That's number one. We
certainly do, yes. And
it would be helpful if you would have had them today, but that's okay. We still have the work sessions. Wednesday is coming right up. The other part is that Reefs of America, is that for profit or is that a for-profit business?
The Reefs Across America is a nonprofit. This actually would be a for-profit. The reason why, because of the width and breadth of what we're trying to do as a destination, it really doesn't fit into being a nonprofit. We decided to, by the way, there are 45,000 nonprofits for veteran causes, and we wouldn't want to compete with those. We'd rather actually do this as a for-profit business that supported those organizations. So we'd take a large percentage of the proceeds of this and share with the nonprofits that support those veteran causes.
Thank you.
Mr. Worcester, I just want to, as one member of the committee, just want to thank you and your family for really all that you've done. The Wreaths Across America is very important, and I know it's appreciated by thousands of people. So I just want to thank you and your family for your public service and your care about this issue. Any other questions or comments directed to Mr. Worcester? Representative Reisman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Worcester. So just recapping what I heard you say, the Reefs Across America is a nonprofit. And there's another legal entity called the Freedom Park, I assume, and that is a for-profit organization. Is that correct?
Yes, it will be, yes. It's a Flagpole of Freedom Development is what the existing business is called.
Flagpole of Freedom, okay. So in terms of a business plan or an economic plan, what's going to be the economic impact of Flagpole of Freedom for the area?
It actually has a tremendous benefit economically to the area. We had an economic impact study done by a third party, and it actually talks about, at the fullest extent of this project, is a huge amount of investment into the area. Initially, we call phase one would be open July 4th, 2026, if everything goes well with this process and with the permitting process. But the full extent of this wouldn't be until about 10 years when everything was constructed. But at that point, there are about 5,000 jobs created between the park itself and the surrounding hospitality, restaurant, hotel industry that would have to come to the area to support it. And that would be, like, say, over a 10-year period, growing slowly, so we could stand that. And there are a lot of indirect jobs outside in the community as well. I believe the study had about almost 8,000 jobs between Washington and Hancock County between the direct and indirect jobs when you figure in the growing community.
Okay,
Questions,
thank
Representative
you.
Reisman?
I guess I'm set for now. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Okay, Tony Santiago, good, Mr. Santiago, good morning. You're on mute, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, Selectman Santiago. Representative Copeland, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious why you need, I know you said that you selected a certain area that's particularly beautiful, which is wonderful, but I'm just curious why you need to have between the two communities. Why can't you put it all on one or put it on the other? I don't know the project, so I'm asking.
As far as a lot of it has to do with access to the area. We own in both Township 19 MD and Centerville. The access to get there with the Route 1 corridor to get to the property goes through Columbia Falls and it goes into Township 19 first. We're actually working around a fairly large wet area, and we picked the best route to get there. It also, the area of Township 19 is the parking area, believe it or not, and the entrance to the park. It's a perfect place that kind of oversees a bunch of hills where the park will be located. And we could show with our maps that we'll provide for the work sessions that what we're talking about. But this property also, we chose it because it has the least environmental impact as far as wetlands and whatnot. This is a higher elevated area, basically. And but as far as access really that brought it into Township 19 first, to work around a large wetland that sits in the northern Columbia Falls and southern Township 19. We had to kind of go up over to get to the park area.
And you mentioned about Route 1. Have you done a traffic impact study or?
We haven't. We are assuming, and as part of this, we've looked at through the lenses of as many people as we could, what potentially would disrupt. We know of areas that are really highly impacted with tourism in the summer. There are challenges a lot with congestions and things like that. So we're looking at having a second entrance. It would change life considerably if we try to do this through one entrance. So there would be a Route 1 entrance. There also is opportunity because of the expansion of 395 directly onto Route 9 in Holden, that we could come down Route 9 as an alternative to keep less traffic going through Ellsworth. And we could come through the property. We own right directly to Route 192, and that's part of the annexation parcel we're talking about. That's what we're trying to accomplish by including that parcel all the way over to the Northfield area.
And it's exciting to hear about jobs coming to the area too, because we all know that there's some help needed there in Washington County. Are these expected to be well-paying jobs, or are they going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah,
actually, to speak to that, the industry itself, as far as hospitality and tourism jobs, are actually one of the highest paying fields that there is. And we've actually have some studies to back that up a little bit. But we're going to have to be extremely competitive when you're talking about bringing this many jobs to an area without a huge amount of people. We're going to have to be really competitive to bring them, from a large area throughout the country even. get them here. We are excited, however, and coming from a small community high school here in Maine, a lot of people that have graduated my class even and since then, wasn't a lot of work available. So a lot of the young people have had to move out and find work. This would give us an opportunity to retain all those people as well as get a lot of those back so they could come back and enjoy living in Washington County again.
And I know in your other businesses you had immigrants and that, and I'm wondering if you're looking to have that type of seasonal help here. I know that we have a limit, I guess, from the federal government on how many visas we can get. Would that be impacting that?
Actually, I'm glad you asked that because it is a year-round proposition. A lot of the tourism and destinations in Maine now, they don't operate year-round, but with the park, we have these large areas called the Halls of History. They're really sizable buildings that are going to be indoor spaces. There's over 1 million square feet of these indoor spaces planned, and that would allow this to be enjoyed year-round. So we're going to have it so our employees also can be year-round. I think it's important that and it's not available for a lot of people that are employed here in Maine, but we can offer a year-round opportunity, and it's kind of designed and planned to do it that way. We're going to have these indoor spaces in conjunction with a lot of wintertime activity in the wintertime. Everyone knows how beautiful it is here in Maine in the summer. So we feel that this is a 12-month-a-year operation.
Well, that's great. Sounds like it's a lot of jobs. It's going to be good pay. And of course, we respect all of our workers. So that's an important piece too. I had one more point. No, I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much.
Okay. Representative Toole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Worcester, for attending today. I guess the questions that I would have, so as it relates to the bill, to get this back to the bill. So this bill, it's your understanding, is asking that if we do this, that if we green light this transfer, this land transfer here to Columbia Falls, it's your impression that the town, it's your understanding the town of Columbia Falls would have to vote to accept the annexation, if you will. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be a local vote, and both parties, I mean, all parties really would basically have to agree to it outside of the legislature, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so with that, I think that really is the focus. We as a committee would love to hear more about the project, and I think that's great, and would encourage you all to reach out to committee members on the side. But I think keeping that in mind, do you think it's important that we keep to the basics of the bill and keep the basics of the bill in front and center?
I guess that would be up to you folks. I'd love to talk about the park as much as I can. So
yeah,
I'll tell you whatever you want to hear, but that
absolutely, and I know you will. And as I say, I would encourage anyone that wants to hear about the park offline to reach out. I know Mr. Damon has been very forthcoming and done a series of presentations, but yeah, I think as far as the bill itself goes, I think they're not really two separate things, but they're somewhat two separate things. Is all, I guess, the point I'm trying to ask you to weigh in on.
Representative Reisman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question, whoever can answer it, is the title to the land as it exists right now is held by who at this point?
The title is held by Worcester Holdings LLC.
Okay. And then Do you have available a business plan for this project?
We have lots of different things we can offer. There's presentations and plans and all kinds of stuff that we could offer a working group, or wherever you're going with that, we can provide you the information you need.
Well, I would love to see some summary business plan of the project. It's just my opinion right now is that, I mean, you're looking at a project that's going to take about 10 years to achieve, but you're in a big hurry to get this transfer done, and I'm trying to make sense of why that's necessary.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Part of this is that the capital plan on this, we're actually going to open it up to the public we'll call it a park founder opportunity. There's a lot of interest. You know, we don't want this to be too far in the future for people that would want to participate in this. The goal of this is to have the first phase of this open July 4th, 2026. We know it's going to take longer than that to construct the whole place, but we'd have phase one in operation, which is probably about 30% of the total facility. We're also working in conjunction with the America 250 Commission. They are very excited about the project. For those of you that don't understand, maybe don't know what the commission does, but they're planning the 250th celebration of the country at this point. There's a whole bunch of people involved in that, from the president's administration, as well as other appointed members from both parties. But they're trying to plan, you know, what projects and what they're going to be doing in conjunction with the 250th birthday of the country, just like it was done in 1976 with the bicentennial. So right now we're at this level of we're passing MOUs back and forth and whatnot, and trying to make sure that we're in understanding and working together. But we have been kind of chosen as one of the projects that they'd like to see happen with that anniversary. And so that it's with this park founder opportunity in promoting this that way, the capital, it helps us to get the capital for it, working on a shorter timeline.
Okay, thank you. Representative Reisman, did you have any other questions?
Just a quick follow-up, and that has to do with the LLC. LLC holds title to all that land. What is the future plan on having a transfer of title to the flagpole of freedom? Or is there a plan?
Currently, the property will be maintained in the holdings company, and just leased. The park will lease it from the holdings company.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gardner, you have your hand up, Commissioner.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak again, Mr. Chair. Thank you. But to the point earlier about Representative Toole brought it up, and Representative Reisman, to your kind of point as well, as what's the hurry? The commissioners look at this very differently. As the municipal entity for the county that oversees these unorganized territories, regardless of what is being done with this land, anytime that we can move unorganized territory to reorganized territory, regardless of its purpose, we as commissioners see that as an absolute win, because what it does is it gets the cost of operating this land, managing this land back at the town level. And that should be the goal for all of us in this setup, as far as from the commissioner's standpoint, is unorganized territories happen when towns can no longer kind of care for themselves, so to speak, and we have to go into this much larger collective. So regardless of the project, I want to reiterate, from the commissioner's standpoint, as the municipal entities that oversee these properties, anytime we can move these to reorganized into towns is something we should be trying to do. And I just want to make sure that the people of the committee understand that at the county level, that would be our wish. So thank you.
Okay, and that's a good segue finally to having Selectman Tony Santiago join us from Columbia Falls. Good morning. Sorry for the delay. Welcome. We can't hear you, Mr. Santiago. I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Honorable Senator Baldacci, Representative Matlick, and members of the Joint Standing Committee and State and Local Government. My name is Tony Santiago, Chair of the Columbia Falls Select Board. I'm here today representing the full Select Board in Columbia Falls in Columbia Falls to voice support for LD 2011, an act to allow the annexation of certain lands by Columbia Falls. Maine is often stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to economic development. Residents are inclined to resist change, but want better economic opportunities. In Washington County, we are one of the most rural and most economically challenged areas of the state. Our younger generations are leaving to find work, and our older folks are aging out of the workforce. We have a population decline, which is creating a workforce crisis. Without a solution to create year-round economic stability, I'm afraid Washington County could have a hard road in front of it. That is why the full Select Board in Columbia Falls supports the annexation of these approximately 11,000 acres, which contain a portion of Centerville Township and a portion of Township 19, into the local governance of Columbia Falls. I speak to you today in my Select Board capacity, but of course, the citizens of Columbia Falls will have the opportunity to vote on this bill should it make it successfully through the legislative process. What follows are the reasons we hope it will. When I first heard about the flagpole of Freedom Park, it was from Morrill Worcester himself. Morrill is a dedicated resident and a patriot who founded Reach Across America, a national nonprofit with a noble mission to honor all American veterans. That organization is in our beloved town. When he sat across from us and shared the details of this endeavor, the flagpole of Freedom Park, I was hopeful for our town's future. The park will stabilize and extend the tourism season, mitigate crowds away from overcrowded Arcadia, create jobs, and successfully build an economic engine in down East Maine. With Maine being one of the most veteran-rich states in the nation, we are in hopes that veterans will be incentivized to move here. The park will honor our veterans, create opportunities for them, and solve Maine's economic and workforce challenges. For months now, the Worcester family have been keeping the selectmen and the residents fully informed throughout this whole process. Their plans for the park have been met with support and positivity. An added benefit for the town of Columbia Falls in annexing this taxable land into our town is getting it onto our tax rolls. It will benefit the existing taxpayers by lowering the tax requirement for all other property owners. In the town's recently approved comprehensive plan dated 2019 are all the resources to address the land use permitting associated with this project. It's no secret that the youth in our county look to other areas of the state as well as other states in the nation for sustainable income. Everybody knows that. This project will provide them with a future right here. We feel Washington County needs this, and it will create something the state of Maine should be proud of for many years to come. Please consider passing LD 2011, and please give the power to Columbia Falls residents to make the final annexation decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Selectman Santiago. Representative Toole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Santiago, for your presentation.
You're
I
welcome.
guess a couple of questions I have is, one, do you see an impact on emergency services? And with that, have you talked to the people about that? And the other is, what do you see the impact being on property taxes locally? I know you touched on it briefly, but
Yes.
that's quite a large chunk of property. Do you see it being a major impact or moderate, or how do you
Well,
see that?
First, on the property tax rolls, I've talked to our assessor. We've held meetings with our assessor, and it will only stand to putting that much more taxable land on the town of Columbia Falls will lower all residents that are paying taxes now, will lower their tax requirement. Second, on your other point, during the presentation, multiple presentations that we've had with the Worcester family, the question came up about services. Their plan, and I'll let them speak to it, but their plan is to have their own services within this park, their own fire, their own security, the fire department security, maintenance, everything. So I'll let them speak to that some more, but that's our takeaway from the presentations.
And thank you for that. But with that, though, I assume as they go about getting planning board permits through the town, that they'll have to provide all of that information to the town and have agreements and stuff like that, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, the planning board's already been looking into this. As a matter of fact, we've hired some help to walk us through this process, and
So
realizing we don't know all the process, and so we have a plan that they're on top of that now. Will.
So it's not like we would be dumping 11,000 acres on you and you wouldn't be equipped to take it all.
Correct. It's not like that at all. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Reisman, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for Mr. Santiago. Could you not do a straw poll of the people of Columbia Falls to find out about their interest in this project?
Yes, your question, have we notified people? The Worcester family, as I stated in this report, is held multiple presentations inviting as many people in the town of Columbia Falls. Now, realizing Columbia Falls has less than 500 people, but I don't know what the total number they had, but it was a good number of people in town have seen this presentation. And for the most part, I have heard no negativity from anybody in town. It's been very positive reaction to it.
Just a quick follow-up, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that answer, but my question was, could you not have a formal straw vote on a ballot with the people of Columbia Falls in support or not in support of this project?
Could we? Yes, we could. As a matter of fact, and we have a plan in the works. We happen to be, town meeting is tomorrow night in our town, and we'll have questions on it, I'm sure there. But we plan on having a special town meeting and have the presentation to everybody and let them, and then we can take a straw vote. Yes.
Thank you. Selectman Santiago, how many members of the Cherryfield Board of Selectmen are there?
Columbia Falls.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay. That's all right. There are 3 members.
And this is their unanimous position, right? Is
Correct.
to support this bill.
That is correct.
Representative Copeland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was touched on earlier about why the need to do this if there's a 10-year plan. Logistically in your community, is there a reason that would be helpful to you?
That really has no play on it at all for our community. That would be their time frame. So.
Because it sounds like, with 11,000 acres, and I know lot of it's wetlands and whatever, but it sounds like it's going to be a really, really big thing. And with their own security and I don't know, this seems like it should have the very most amount of local scrutiny. So I don't know.
Is there a question there? Did you ask me a question?
I'm sorry. I did ask my question and it's answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Representative Matlack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Santiago, welcome to State and Local Government. In as much as this property will be, if we move for, if we and you move forward with this property will become part of Columbia Falls. And even if the project doesn't come to fruition for 10 years or so, will this be a benefit to the town of Columbia Falls in the revenues department? And will that allow you to become more accustomed or create more support within town government so that you can handle such a large expansion of what's going on, what might be happening in this new park? I'm thinking that a lead up of a few years will give you some resources so that you can hire your own folks to represent your side in any negotiations with the park, and that it will also allow you to be able to make the town ready when this park comes to fruition.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I would say is it's going to create more taxable property by one and through one property owner. And that will again reduce tax properties for all other owners, property tax owners. And number two, we have hired legal representation to help us through this whole process. And for however long it takes, if that answers your question.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're very welcome.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Santiago? Mr. Santiago, I had one question, and it only comes from having been involved in city councils before and dealing with taxable and non-taxable properties. Is there any is there any need to consider any kind of provisions that say that this property will always be taxable, whether it's whether it becomes nonprofit or not? Sometimes when the city of Bangor had to deal with certain properties, we added conditions like that to make sure there weren't changes, but I just throw that out there as somebody obviously concerned about municipal finances.
Well, I certainly welcome any advice that we can take from you, especially for somebody with your experience. But I just wrote that down, and that's going to be a question from legal representation. So,
yeah, no problem. And sometimes we add conditions like that just to make sure that it remain tax paying.
Excellent. Thank you for that heads up.
Anytime. Okay, so I think that is it Senator Damon, is it time for you to speak now? Have we reached that moment?
Well, I think we have, and thank you, Senator, for this. Senator Baldacci and Representative Matlack and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on State and Local Government. I am Dennis Damon. I reside in Trenton, Maine, which is in Hancock County. I come to you today as a member of the management team for this project to testify in support of LD 2011. Passage of this bill is but one of the many steps necessary for the continued progress of the Flagpole of Freedom Park. When completed, I believe this park will rank with any national monument or memorial or experience in this country. As you think about that, please allow yourself to imagine. Imagine there is something so visionary as to be beyond belief and so transformational. It empowers a county, energizes a state, and inspires an entire country. Imagine a creation so iconic it joins blueberries, moose, lobsters, and lighthouses when you think of Maine. Imagine in this climate of deep and wide divides in our United States, there is a creation so universally unifying, it inspires people from all sides, of all stripes, to stand together as one in its honor. Imagine there is a place where you can feel small in its grandeur and glory. You can feel humble in quiet, contemplative gratitude, and you can feel proud knowing you helped make it a reality. And imagine if in the tallest man-made structure in Maine, you were allowed to access its topmost peak and stand where the sun's rays touch continental United States first every day. And from there, you could see Mount Katahdin and coastal Canada. And finally, imagine there's a place where you can see the names and honor the memories of all 24 million men and women no longer with us, who have served in our military since we declared our independence in 1776. And they've served to defend the liberty and the freedom of our United States of America. That's our vision. And that's our purpose for the Flagpole of Freedom Park. I urge your support for the passage of LD 2011. Thank you for your attention. Sorry to make it so brief. I was told I only have 3 minutes. That's unusual for me, but I'm happy to answer your questions.
I mean, you specifically, so don't worry. But are there any questions for the Honorable Dennis Damon? Representative Toole?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Damon, for your presentation today. I know you have offered in the past to do a full presentation of the park to myself and others, and unfortunately scheduling has not allowed for that to happen. But first question would be, would you be willing to do that with any member of this committee that wants to have that presentation between now and the work session?
I certainly would be willing to do that, and I presume that it's able to happen. I know things now, Representative, are moving at a more frenetic pace than they have since I joined on board with this effort back in July last.
Right.
We have a condensed presentation that is condensed somewhat from around 40 minutes to around 11 minutes. It just touches the highlights, but it would be, I think it would be helpful to you and the committee to see it. My only hesitancy, and I guess this is a caution, is that we plan a public launch of this project, and that's why it has been somewhat under wraps. We plan that for the 29th of this month and the 30th of this month. One is a media launch to get it out to the world, and the other is a campaign launch for people who would like to become members. But if it would be helpful, I think that your work session perhaps is scheduled for maybe as soon as Wednesday. And so if it would be helpful, it would have to be on a somewhat individual basis, because if the committee were convened to see it as a whole, of course, that's a public meeting, and that lets the cat out of the bag entirely, and that's not where we want to be at this point. But yes, we'd try to make that happen. Thank you, Representative.
And I thank you for that. I know you've been very open about reaching out to those of us locally. So that, and we have your information, or Cheryl has it and whatnot. So folks, if they did want to see that presentation one-on-one, could reach out to you. So I appreciate that. I guess the other question that I had was along the lines of, you mentioned that there are many steps to this, and with many steps, there are many checks and balances. So this, what other steps are there that this has to go through beyond local and legislative approval for the land to be transferred?
Well, thank you for that. The land transfer, as I'd mentioned, is but one of those steps. We have been in a almost a marathon at this point of working with contractors, with architects, with planners, with the management team, reaching out to national groups for their to gauge their interest in the participation. And then there will be the steps beyond that of getting, as we move forward, getting permitting and those kinds of things. This is a project, and I think it's been mentioned earlier in the testimony, it's the park itself is 2,500 acres in size, of which but about 300 acres, I think, would be altered at all. But it's, well, it's, to me, it's the largest project I've been ever been involved in. And it also potentially has the greatest impact of any that I have known, certainly any that I have known in Maine. One of the things that really drew me to this was the opportunity, albeit this may be my pie in the sky, but if there's any way that we can bring the divide that currently exists in this country, philosophically, politically, ideology-wise, closer together so that we can recognize that we see things differently, but not be hateful to one another. I see this project to present potentially helping that, and I fully support that.
Representative Matlack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Damon, welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just a what if kind of question. We've been hearing the benefits of moving the property to Columbia Falls. If this committee moves forward and allows the property to move, but for some reason, and I hope this doesn't happen, that this park doesn't come to fruition, is there a downside to moving the property to Columbia Falls anyways? Is it sort of something that would be a benefit of to Columbia Falls, even if the park didn't come to fruition?
Thank you, Representative. The downside to me personally would be that a dream that I have been able to share with Mr. Worcester, Rob's father, Morrow, who has been thinking of this project for more than a dozen years and has shared with me those individual thoughts. The downside would be that didn't happen. That's a possibility, but it's not something that I'm looking forward to. But to your question more directly, is there a downside to the town of Columbia Falls acquiring these 11,000 acres? I really don't see it. I think Commissioner Gardner mentioned it earlier, that it is a win-win. It's a win to get a significant portion of unorganized territories in Washington County into a local governance where there is opportunity for local control. And there would be, even if the park were not, did not come to fruition, there would be additional tax revenue that would come to the municipality. Now, when the park does come to fruition, it would be a significant revenue source to the rather small municipality of Columbia Falls. So I think well, obviously speaking from a somewhat biased position, but when I look at it realistically, I think it is a a win for Columbia Falls.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Questions for Honorable Doug Damon? Okay.
Did you say Doug, Senator?
Sorry, I don't know if you, yeah, Doug is a local realtor and bank. Of course, I got you guys mixed up.
And a former legislature, but I think the similarities end with our last name. Thank you very much.
Okay. The Honorable Dennis Damon, Representative Copeland.
Thank you, Senator Baldacci, and thank you, Senator Damon, for being here and talking about this project. I love the idea of it being something that brings people together. I think that is, if that were able to happen, that would be fantastic. My concern is it would bring the opposite. And, you know, we all own the flag. It's not one party or another, but it seems to be that, I don't know, there's different views of it these days. And I don't, do you have anything in the planning or whatever that could bolster the idea that it is, you know, nonpartisan and it's uniting?
That is an excellent question, Representative. And I too have thought of the divisional part that can come with this, because in this divide that I spoke of, I don't have to be too specific about it. We've all seen it. There are people who look at life, at our country, and certainly at our national symbol differently. In one sense, that's good, in my opinion, that we all have the opportunity to make up the freedom, if you will, to make up our own minds. What I think needs to be done, and what I have realized the goal is of this whole project, is to show the history of our country, through these last 250 years, to recognize the service by the 24 million of those people who served in defense of our freedom and our liberties.
Absolutely.
They didn't all die in battle. That's not what this is about, but they chose to serve. I would, this is a bit of an aside, but I would recognize the millions and millions of others who served our country. Certainly not disregarding people like yourself who have served in elected positions for the benefit of preserving our democracy, and people who have served, such as teachers and EMS people who served for the greater good. All of those people need recognition. I'm getting a little bit lofty here, but that's what I look at. That's what I see this as. And if we can talk about that, if we can see it, we can visualize it, we can understand it, possibly, just possibly and hopefully, we can say, okay.
That is your goal and mine is an alignment there.
We can stand together and say, well, we are all Americans. I don't see the same thing. I don't see it the same way you do, but I know that we are all Americans. And that really is one of the major reasons why, though I have known Mr. Worcester for 40 years or more and consider him a friend, when he asked if I would join his management team and we had the conversations about this, that's what got me on board and keeps me here. Thank you for the question.
Is it, to follow up, the question was if there's anything in place to assure that it's a friendly space for all.
I think what's in place is and I've been involved in the conversations about this again since last July at the management team level, is the constant conversation that we have, considering those differences of opinion that we have and how we can best continue and how we constantly are working to create a space where those views can come together and we can try to unite. Is there a guarantee for success? No, and I don't think that's what you're asking. But the fact of the matter is, it's at the top of our planning. That's what this is about. The history of the country and the fact that we are all Americans. That's what the basis of this is.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
You, any other questions for Mr. Damon? Is Tim Pease with the Flagpole for Freedom Project. Do you want to speak, Tim? Hey, Tim, can you hear us or are you frozen? Hey, Tim.
Hi
Good
there.
morning.
So I picked a good time to have my internet go down.
That's all right.
So hopefully I was just sitting still and not jumping around too much. But Senator Baldacci, Representative Matlack, members of the Joint Standing Committee on State and Local Government. My name is Tim Pease, and I'm here today to testify on behalf of the Flagpole of Freedom Project. One of the pitfalls of going last is you get to hear a lot of the questions that come up. And so I'm going to skip over some of the testimony that I think would be repetitive, but I think it is important to just remind folks of some points that have been made earlier. Representative Toole, I think made it clear about the process that we have going forward. So if the legislature approves this annexation, then it goes to a town vote that would have to occur at least 90 days after adjournment. So we're looking at some time in the late summer or so. The annexation would, again, result in about 11,000 acres being transferred to Columbia Falls. I want to put that in perspective. So Columbia Falls broke off from Columbia a little over 150 years ago, and it's relatively small compared to its neighbors. So right now it's got about 25 square miles, but Addison has 42 square miles, Jonesboro has 38, Columbia has 36. So if you add 25 and 16, you get, right in the ballpark, 41 or so. So it would be about equivalent to the other communities there. Again, in terms of population, it's got about 500 folks, but it's got plenty of people to staff the necessary boards to provide the oversight for a park like this. One of the other things I wanted to highlight is the public support for this. And someone made the point about maybe a straw poll. I think that's what we were trying to accomplish a couple of months ago with all the public forums. When I became involved in this project, and I've appeared before the legislature before at different committees, and I knew the number one question you'd ask is, what do the local folks think about it? So I said, well, let's round folks up, and over a month period of time, I went to at least 4 public forums. They were very well attended. The presentations lasted a couple of hours. The questions and answers lasted another half hour or so after that, and we stood around and ate cookies and drank coffee as well. And I could tell you, people ask really good questions. People get specific too. They say, what's going to happen to Tibbetstown Road? What's going to happen to the schools? What's going to happen here? And I think one of the most telling comments was from a gentleman, and Mr. Santiago might have been there that night. And this gentleman said, well, if this is a wind farm or a solar project, I wouldn't be for it because that just sits there. But this is about freedom. It's about pride. And we want this to be in our town. We want to be included in this. We don't want people to be driving through our town and going to some place that's outside of our town where we have all the impact, but none of the benefit of it. So I think that made a lot of sense. The other thing I wanted to touch on is the economic benefit and timeline. So 10 years seems like a long time, but not if you're building a campus, not if you're building a park with the buildings and infrastructure of the size that we're talking about. You just can't plop down thousands of workers and snap our fingers and build something like this in a couple of years. I think everybody would love it if we could do that, but frankly, from an engineering and operations standpoint, it really can't be done. So I think a 10-year plan is about as aggressive as we can realistically put together without really overburdening the project with unnecessary costs. In terms of population increase, obviously, I think this is going to attract people to move to the area. These are going to be year-round jobs, a lot of sophisticated jobs with the engineering and operations of the type of systems that we have. So it's not just service-related jobs, which tend to be on the lower end. But again, these are year-round jobs, and so we expect people to move in, move with their families, and this is anticipated to be a draw, not just for visitors, but for workers alike. And the last point I want to make is I'm a military veteran. I was in the Air Force for over 6 years. My wife was in for over 20 years, from the Cold War all the way through 9/11. And I can tell you that when we go to Arlington, when we go to the Vietnam Memorial, when we go to Indianapolis, where there are a number of veterans-related monuments, those are very moving experiences. And one of the things I thought about is, well, would I be surprised if something like this was built in Virginia or Texas or California? Not really. And so I asked myself, why, when I first heard about it, would I be surprised if it was built on the Bold Coast of Maine? And I think we just have a view it here in Maine. If we kind of move along, we're very cautious. But I think this should be built in Maine. We have a lot of veterans in the state. I think per capita, only Alaska beats us. So this would be a very moving place, I think, for veterans, for service members alike. It's proven to be that way over the last few years, especially with Reach Across America. So location really matters here. And I'm hopeful that we can get your support and allow the folks at Columbia Falls to vote on annexation later this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pease. Are there any questions for Mr. Pease?
Senator, just one last point. I did put together a presentation that's uploaded already, a PowerPoint presentation. It has the map. It has other information about it along the lines with questions that you brought up earlier.
Has that been entered as testimony?
Yes.
Okay. So I would encourage all members of the committee to look at that before the work session. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I think there are no other speakers regarding this issue. Is that correct, Lynn? We have
That is correct,
items
Mr. Chair.
to discuss today.
We have a language review and a fiscal note review after this work session.
Okay. The requests of other members who are requesting information for the work session for LD 2011. See any special requests for information? So other than the information that's already been posted as testimony and the rest, so I would close the public hearing. And Lynn, why don't you take us to the language review first?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you voted ought to pass as amended on LD 1975, which is an act concerning winter maintenance on private roads in the town of Wyndham. And I am going to find, I sent it to you yesterday, probably late in the afternoon. And I'm going to share it, screen share it with you as soon as I click the right buttons. So I believe I said in my email that it may look a little different because I pulled sections out, separated. I did some separation in this and cleaned up some language. But there are no substantive changes. At least it was not my intent to make any substantive changes from what you all voted on. There wasn't any, there were a few tweaks in the whereas clauses to make them read better. And the definition section remained the same. I'm assuming you're all seeing this as I'm scrolling through. Okay, good. I see some nodding. Again, as I said, I moved sections around. So the first major section is this section 3, which was in the previous law, It allows the town of Wyndham to identify all those roads that they had provided winter maintenance on for the last 20 years. And then section 4 allows them to create this private way roster and map. Again, this was from also in the prior law. Section 5 allows the town to provide winter maintenance or to use public equipment to provide winter maintenance on all of those roads, even if they don't have an easement. Again, this is similar to what was in the prior law. The permission or the authority under Section 5 expires October 1st of 2023. This Section 6 allows the road commissioner to develop some maintenance standards for those roads where the town eventually gets public easements. The town wants to have basic maintenance standards. Those roads need to, the road association or the homeowners need to maintain those roads to a basic standard. So Section 6 allows the road commissioner to develop these standards. And Section 7 has the most changes from the prior law. This takes effect October 1st of 2023, and this provides for the conditions that the town maintain, the ongoing public winter maintenance. So what are those conditions? The private way is under the purview of a road association or homeowners association. The council or the road commissioners have notified this road association of those minimum maintenance standards. That's what subsection 2 is. Subsection 3 is the at least 67% of the owners have issued a public easement to the town. So that is the percentage that you all voted to accept. Section 8 is the language that addresses, I will call it Representative Greenwood's comments about notification. And it requires, if the town provides this maintenance. So again, this bill is drafted in the if the town does this to avoid any state mandate. So this Section 8 says if the town provides this winter maintenance, it shall have a record showing that it provided written notification sent by certified mail within 60 days. So that is the requirement, that there be this one additional notification through certified mail to all the property owners. Section 8, let me just go through the last two, Representative Greenwood. Section 9 is similar to the prior law, which allows the council to enact an ordinance to effectuate any of these provisions. And Section 10 is the one where I pulled something out. This is called claim preclusion. It's making it clear, and this was in the prior bill, that the road associations and property owners on these roads that have been plowed for 20 years, they can't bring a claim against the town. So again, that was pulled out because it's just seemed better that way. So I'm going to leave this up in case Representative Greenwood's question is about the wording on Section 8, which I bet it is.
Representative Greenwood, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Lynn. My only clarification is it not need to be certified mail. Certified mail is very expensive. That the term I used was certificate of mailing.
Okay.
Which is a distinct difference.
And we had that discussion, and so I'm assuming that if I change this, that they retain a record, a certificate of mailing record. So the town has to retain a certificate of mailing record. That to me is not a substantive change. It's just a word clarification. So if you all agree that everything I just laid out is what you voted on, I will continue this bill through the process. I can tell you that LFPR has already issued a fiscal note, and they said that there is no fiscal impact for this bill. So I'll just quickly move Are there any questions on this one?
Okay. Have you done-
Questions? I don't see any.
Okay, so I'm just going to bring up one more document. You'll recall that LD 379, which was the Cemetery Commission, that there was a substantial fiscal note from the Department of Veterans Affairs. And I spoke with you all and said I would change some wording in the bill to make it clear that the only duty of the department was to arrange for meetings and to attend meetings. And you all agreed within existing resources, you all agreed that was your intent. So we have received a fiscal note with that language, which is within existing resources. The director's duties are limited to arranging for and attending committee meetings. And there was still a fiscal note, which I'm gonna pull up and share. It doesn't have, let me pull it up and share it before I keep talking. So you'll see it says fiscal note required. Yes, it's called a minor cost increase. So there is no dollar value associated with this, but because it has a fiscal note, this means it would go to the special appropriations table. So I just wanted to share that with you. I cannot think of any other way to draft the bill that would remove this minor cost that the department claims. They are claiming that they don't have anything. So I just wanted to share that all with you so you wouldn't be surprised if this bill moves forward that it ends up on the appropriations table. And that's all I have for.
Not surprised.
That's all I have for you all. On Wednesday, you're going to be voting the budget and working this 2011, the bill you just heard, and have a briefing on compensation by the Department of Administrative and Financial Services and MSEA. They said they would each only speak for 10 minutes, which I thought would work well. So if that all goes well on Wednesday, that will be the last of our official meetings.
Oh, sad. Any other questions or comments by members of the committee? Cheryl, any questions? Cheryl, we're all set with you. Okay, thank you. And look forward. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Yep. We are now adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.